How you doing, Pops?
I am so damn good.
That's awesome.
Yes, it is. That's because I had a really wonderful dinner last night. I know we need to get into the meat and potatoes here, but my son here treated me to the nicest dinner at Sinatra's at the Encore last night, and it was just really wonderful. And publicly, I would like to say thank you.
Awesome. Well, hey, here's what we're going to do in today's video.
Yes.
We're going to be talking about rebuttals. So, like, the word tracks and then how salespeople are trained to overcome customer rebuttals and how customers, when they're going to buy a car,
Need to be trained how to overcome the techniques of salespeople.
So what I did, Dad, is I went online and I went to automotiveinternetsales.com.
Okay.
Where there's an article from 2013.
Can we tell the nice folks that I have never seen this before?
No, of course
this is
you've never seen
absolutely news to me. Yeah.
So the article, it's from a gentleman named Russ Williams who's been doing this for a long time.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Russ says one of the rebuttals that you're going to hear as a car salesperson is, I'm just looking. I'm not buying today. This is the first place I have looked.
Yes.
I've just started my research.
Yes.
So he suggests
Yes.
that these are all the same objection, pretty much the same objection. He's got a few different rebuttals to
Yes.
use. So I'm going to read out the rebuttals that he proposes that car salespeople should use.
Yeah.
Automotive salespeople should use. And I want you to give your 2 cents as a customer.
Before you do the rebuttals, would you like to hear what I used to say to people when they would say, hey, I'm just looking, or this is the first place I stopped in?
Yeah.
When they used to say, I'm just looking, I used to say, great, because that's how it starts, folks. I want you to just look.
Yep.
Okay? And the only thing I'm going to ask is if you run across anything that might pique your interest, just let me know. I'm here for you.
There you go.
Yeah. Or this is the first place I've stopped.
Yep.
I want you to know I have searched all the local, state, and federal laws, and it is against no law to buy a car at the first place you've stopped into. You just need to know that before we get started.
Fair enough. Okay, so let's go through. So again,
yes.
This is what Russ is proposing and training salespeople to say in response. Yes, sir, /ma'am.
Yeah.
I understand completely. I have discovered that many of my customers would prefer to do some research, drive a few vehicles of interest, and gain some financial information. Like price, payments, and the value of their trade before they would even consider purchasing a vehicle. Yeah. Does that sound like the way you like to do business? Now I know my inventory better than anyone. We are looking at cars, sport utility vehicles, vans, or trucks. So bringing the conversation back to what are you interested in?
Yeah.
As a customer, what's your take there and how you handle that approach? Again, you've just teed this up with, hey, I'm just here. I'm just looking today.
I'm just looking. Well, that's great. That's great. I have a limited amount of time today, so there's 2 or 3 cars that I'd like to drive in, and I think it's wonderful that at a certain point you'd be willing and want to share the financial information regarding the price and the payments and my trade.
And you've talked a lot about you should not feel bashful about going to a car dealership just to test drive a car.
No,
so even
nor should you be bashful about telling the salesperson what it is that you hope to accomplish that day.
Yep.
A good salesperson will ask you that.
Rebuttal number 2. Yeah, honestly.
He should.
Certainly, Mr. and Mrs. Jones. Yeah. I wouldn't have it any other way. Every journey begins with the first step. The good news, that's what you just said.
Yeah.
The good news is that you are halfway there because you have made it out to our dealership to see what is available. Yeah. I really appreciate you giving us the opportunity to earn your business.
Oh, I hate that.
I hate that. Now, I know my inventory very well where we're looking at cars, SUVs, vans, or trucks.
Yeah.
Same gimmick.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so bring it back to what you're actually here to do.
Yes.
Okay, I completely understand.
Yeah.
The car buying process can be a daunting endeavor. We have a huge lot. Follow me inside. I will have just a few questions, and I can bring the vehicles that fit your wants, needs, and desires to you. Turn and walk towards the showroom.
Yeah, that's old school. I mean, you can say that. What I would say, if you were to do that, hey, I completely understand. It's daunting to get involved in something like this. This is a big lot that we have here. Just so I make sure that we don't waste any of your time, can I ask you a few questions? Can we go inside and sit at my desk? Let me just ask you a few questions so I have a better idea of what it is that you're looking for or what it is you're going to need so that I can get that for you. That sounds fair now, doesn't it?
So that salesperson, how do you respond as the customer?
As a customer, I would have nothing to, that sounds like a great idea as long as we can get the questions and answers done in like a couple minutes because I have a limited amount of time to drive. the vehicles.
Do you think it's just like recurring theme, just to continue to say, I have a limited amount of time, I'm very busy, and
Yes. Because at a certain point, they might get that you have a limited amount of time and you're very busy.
Okay, the fourth rebuttal that the folks are trained on. Yes, sir/ma'am.
Yeah.
I completely understand. Most of my customers prefer to do some legwork, compare a variety of vehicles, and get some realistic prices so they actually have some information to ponder. Then return tomorrow or perhaps next week to really nail down a deal. Would you agree? I know my inventory better than anyone. What is the most important feature you want out of your next vehicle? So it's always trying to drive back to something that's unrelated to like everything he just said or she's just said at the beginning there.
Yeah.
Goes out the window when it's like, well, what feature do you want?
Yeah, the whole idea for the salesperson is to try and get you to talk about the whole car so that you can figure out what's important so that they can select the right car. You've heard me give you my 5 steps to the sale.
Yeah.
Which are excitement, selection, write-up, commitment, and close. Because, as I like to say, you can't close something you haven't gotten a commitment on.
Yep.
And you can't get a commitment on something that you haven't written up, and you can't write up something that you haven't selected, and you can't select something if, as the salesperson, you're not excited to have the opportunity to chat with the customer. So that's what the salesperson is trying to do, is they're trying to find whatever it is that they can get you excited about so that they can move the process in the direction that they want it to go. Now, it doesn't mean, as the customer, that you can't go down that path and stop it at any point in time.
Yep.
Just because you might acquiesce to some of the techniques that a salesperson might utilize in order to bring you down the path where they think they're gaining control.
Yep.
The fact that you know that's what they're doing still gives you the control to stop the process at any point in time.
Let's jump to the next set of questions, which is when the customer asks, what is your best price?
Yes.
Okay. Option number 1, this is the rebuttal. Option number 1, before the customer has landed on a vehicle.
Yeah.
It's suggested that a salesperson say, I am so glad you asked me that, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. We do things a little different here at Rolling Hills Auto Plaza. I like that. Gotcha Motors. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
We do things a little differently here at Gotcha Motors. We do our best to make the shopping experience as enjoyable as possible, so we have marked the prices clearly on all of our pre-owned vehicles. We believe in giving you a fair price up front, so you don't have to go back and forth with my manager multiple times to get you the exact same price. Does that make sense? Then the customer is going to say, does that mean the prices are non-negotiable? Depending on the vehicle, there may be some wiggle room, but if you are thinking thousands, then perhaps we should look at another vehicle. Actually, some of our vehicles have been discounted so drastically they are non-negotiable. Our customers have told us that they simply do not like the games and haggling that other dealers play, especially when it comes to used cars. Did you notice that this car has Bluetooth and a touchscreen?
Okay, and as a customer, I would say, Zach, let me get this straight then. What you first told me is not so, that the vehicles aren't priced at what the selling price is. You're telling me there is wiggle room, and that some cars have more wiggle room than others. So what is it? Are you a one-price, no-hassle store?
Yeah.
Or are you a negotiating store?
This continues on, which is really incredible.
Yeah.
So here you've got an example of after the customer's actually landed on the vehicle.
Yeah.
This is what the salesperson would say. I am sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I really must apologize to you. I must not have been clear when I spoke to you about market pricing. We do things a little different here at Gotcha Motors. We do our best to make the shopping experience as enjoyable as possible. So we have marked all of our prices clearly, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Customer says, does that mean the prices are non-negotiable? Depending on the vehicle, there may be some wiggle room, but if you were thinking thousands, it's the same.
It shouldn't depend on the vehicle.
Yeah.
Now, when we had market-based pricing at the mini store.
Yeah.
And I trained my salespeople to say, we're a one-price store when it comes to our pre-owned cars. Now, we understand that doesn't work for all people. So if you're the type of person that prefers to be able to negotiate, I'll tell you right up front, we have a little bit of wiggle room. If $100 or $200 is going to make a difference in you saying yes, I can probably get that done for you. If you're looking for more than that, then I'm sorry, I won't be able to accommodate you.
And honestly, in the environment we're in right now for used cars,
well,
don't expect
and considering that this is 8 years old.
Yeah, don't expect necessarily to negotiate too much. But I think from the customer perspective, you know what's coming through my head?
No.
Get the actual out-the-door price.
Yeah.
Because who cares what the selling price of the vehicle is? It could be discounted thousands of dollars and then made up for and all sorts of crap.
Yes.
We have, salespeople are trained for the I need to speak to my spouse rebuttal.
Yes.
This is what the salesperson's trained to say.
Yeah.
How should the customer respond? Absolutely, Mr. Smith. I know my wife would need to give me the okay on such a purchase. Is she available? If yes, let's hop in the car and go show it to her right now. Mm-hmm. Okay. If no, all right, Mr. Smith, other than her seeing the vehicle, is there anything else that would prevent you from taking this car home today? If there are other things, you are not done. If there are no other quote-unquote things, and you believe the person in front of you is wholeheartedly supports buying the vehicle, BCA them in the car. What does BCA mean?
Borrowed car agreement.
Interesting.
Okay, so that's an agreement where you have the customer sign that you're allowing them to take the car for an extended period of time, and it would stipulate how many hours or how many days.
This is like the three-day.
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Some dealerships would, because the longer you have it in your driveway, the
more likely you
are to buy it, because your neighbors are going to go, well, what happened to your new car?
Yeah.
So BCA stands for Borrowed Car Agreement. They sign the form. You send them out on a dealer tag. You let them take the car and show their spouse, and the hope is that they come back and they say yes.
And so as a customer, obviously, if that is a requirement in your car buying process, then they go through your due diligence. But I probably wouldn't do this BCA thing, because I'm probably going to buy it at that point. I've lost leverage.
That's the the dealership hope. Now, if you don't feel comfortable doing that, say, really, I don't feel comfortable borrowing your car. I wouldn't lend you my car for 8 hours, and so I really don't feel comfortable borrowing your car. But I promise you this, after I speak to my wife, if she thinks this particular vehicle makes sense, that I'll give you a call, and we'll set up an appointment for my wife and I to come back.
Yeah, no, that makes plenty of sense. I think what we need to do, Dad, is we need to get you, and one of your old dealer, friends that used to work at the dealership, going head to head against each other, doing these rebuttals back and forth. You as the customer, them as the salesperson, them as the customer, you as the salesperson. Because I'm reading this, I'm doing the best I can, but I think there's definitely something to it. Seeing two people who are
experienced at this. Yeah, sure, I would do that.
Let us know in the comments down below.
Maybe when we get back to the shore, we can
arrange for something like that.
Yeah.
Well, let us know. Let us know what rebuttals you're hearing at the dealerships as well. How
they're
you've
all the
handled
same.
them. They do feel very similar.
Yeah, they're all the same. Then they all start with "I understand."
I understand, but how can I earn your business?
Yeah, I understand. Other than that, and I used to train my salespeople when the customer would say why they wouldn't buy the car, and I used to train them. I said, usually the first reason that the customer gives you is not the real reason. That's the excuse to get out.
Yeah.
So, other than that, what is holding you back?
Yeah.
And so the phrase that my salespeople were always trained to use was, other than that, is there anything else that's preventing you from moving forward today? And one of the lines I used to use when somebody said, well, I want your best price. And I used to tell them this. My best price includes the sale and delivery of an automobile today. Are you prepared to move forward and complete the transaction? If you're not, then my best price really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need the rebuttals for the customer side of that, 'cause that stuff's good. Thanks for doing this, Pops.
You're welcome, honey.